Check 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Check, check, check. Check, check. Testing, 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 test, test. Testing 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 3, 4, 5, 6. Testing 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep, I get monthly billing, I sign off on it. Special education side. We can push. I don't know. Oh.
I don't think it has been further.
Basking or something? That's too hard. That's the hardest thing in the world. Yeah, no, I think there's two of them.
I'm not the Apple mic.
Okay, could you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start that, Mr. Barrett, I was asked if we could do a moment of silence. One of our former employees, Melanie Chapin, passed away recently, and she worked here for many years. and just offer a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Barrett, sorry.
Our secretary is can't serve tonight, and I think we should by motion appoint and secretary pro tem to take the minutes this evening.
Do I have a motion for Mrs. Russell?
So moved.
You have to do a roll call, Pat, or
Or unanimous, whichever.
is there any objections? Okay. Good to proceed, Pat? Good to go? Good to go?
Yep.
Okay.
go ahead. Thank you.
All right. We have a presentation this evening. Ms. Shores, we have the preliminary budget for the school district.
Good evening. Okay, so in front of each of you, you have my budget presentation. Oh, they have it. All right, the first screen is our ESSER allocation. It shows what we've spent to date. We have about $1.7 million left in ESSER money to spend this year. It needs to be expensed by September of 2024. Next page just gives you a little history on our real estate tax. I put in the proposed tax increase of 1.5 mils that we discussed in April. Our next slide is the value of our mill. So on here, you can see that a lower assessed value home, it would only affect our taxes about $60 if we go ahead and vote the 1.5 mil increase. The highest assessed houses would be about $345 a year. There's only a few of those in our district. So roughly our average will be about $100 that it's going to affect our houses. Our next page is just informational purposes of where general fund balance stands. This year, we're able to balance the budget without drawing from our general fund, fortunately. The next slide is our revenue. It just breaks it down like our local revenue. We collect 40% of our revenue from local, which is just pretty much our real estate taxes, some earned income tax. The state makes up the bulk of 54%, which is our state reimbursement for PSERS, Social Security, transportation, some grants, and then our regular and special education funding. Right now, Pennsylvania has not approved their budget. So we have numbers plugged in according to what Governor Shapiro is going to allocate to Athens, but that could change once they approve their final budget. The federal revenues come from our title funds and our IDEA grant. The next page is our total revenue, just breaking it down out those percentages to actual dollar amounts. You can see everything went up a little bit. We're using less of our ESSER fund. Next page is just another informational piece to make the picture whole, I guess. Our staffing levels from where we were prior to. Can you go one more? That's okay. I put in 18-19 in there so you can see that where we were at pre-COVID. And then our COVID years, we went up a few. We hired some part-time instructional aides, a few more 90-90s in the buildings to lower our class sizes for social distancing and learning loss. So this year we are projected to come down just a little bit, and it's just a couple professional staff that were just 90-90s that we are not replacing. Nobody is losing their job. The next screen is our expenses that are broke out by each one of our object codes. Most of them are relatively, they stay the same. You can make note that the other purchase services, we have to budget $500,000 more for charter school tuition. And our equipment and property went down. Last year, we did the track resurfacing and the parking lot repairs. So last year was quite a bit higher than normal. So we're just down into our normal range. And then the ESSER, in order to get our budget to balance, we used we're plugging our ESSER funds into that. So that's why that's zero. We're not offsetting it. Like last year, we decided to do some projects, so they would fall in under the expenses. This year, they will just be benefits. These are some informational slides leading up to the functions. Instructional, you can see our regular programs, special education, our vocational education support is everything that supports our classrooms, guidance, health, speech, social work, library, business office, maintenance, transportation. Non-instructional is student activities and athletics. Facilities are just building improvements, site improvements, and then debt service of our bonds. This shows, I know a lot of people are talk about the amount of money that we put into athletics, but you can see here that our non-instructional services is actually only 2% of the budget. The bulk of our budget is put into the instructional, into the classroom, into the supplies for the classrooms, our teachers, our aides, everything is put into, 61% is put into instructional. So then here you can see that $27 million we have projected to spend on instructional. All the way down, I mean, our debt service is 3.7 million, which will continue to come down every year until we pay off all of our bonds. Okay, the next slide is what I'm sure everybody wants to know. So right now we have projected of $7,000 surplus. So actually, Clint, if you can go 2 slides forward real quick. So here's where we were when we met in April. I projected about a $2.3 million deficit. So I plugged in the rest of our ESSER funding. We agreed upon a 1.5 mil tax increase. We got a little bit more in our title funding. I updated all of the salary and benefits for all of our new teachers. And then we discussed the security system Verkada. So I put in our deposit on that. So that brings us down to having a surplus of $7,000. So if you go back 1 slide now, Clint. Just a few things to highlight, like we are doing the tax increase. Our basic ed and special ed funding went up, our Title I funding went up. However, our expenses, salary made a big jump of 2% and our health insurance went up 5%. So those are some of the highlights of where our money's going. Anybody have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
This is a comment, not a question necessarily, but, you know, our ESSER funds, we've got a year to go on those, and that's 1.6, almost 1.7 million. So anticipating ahead, you know, thinking ahead to next year, that's going to be a large gap that we were able to cover with
Yep.
that. And like, I don't know if you have any thoughts around that, I guess.
We'll just have to get a little tighter. This year, we budgeted a lot the same that we had the last couple of years with COVID. I didn't cut anybody's expenses in the buildings. We didn't cut any positions. We just didn't fill 3 that were 90/90s. They were not permanent positions. But we'll just have to get a little tighter. Unfortunately, we do have a very healthy fund balance. I looked up a few other districts in the area and ours is very healthy compared to other ones. So we have that, not that we want to rely on that, but we do have to have.
I think, as a district, we need to do some long-term planning for our fiscal health. And I think, what we're trying to show today is that, with the recommended budget that Ms. Shores brings to the table, yes, we use up our ESSER funds, but it also, looks at us generating revenue. And, as you guys continue to help us support the budget, as you guys help us increase revenues, we'll help, find ways to decrease our expenditures through probably an internal audit of everything that we're spending, and really trying to take a deep look at all the programs and systems we offer and how do we do that in the most economical way. I do want to emphasize we are a very healthy district. This is not dire straits, but this is a sounding of potential along. You'll see a yellow light.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, up next, we have some committee reports. We met before the meeting, finance and operations,
We don't have anything to report.
nothing to report. Okay.
Nothing.
Personnel and policy,
Our report?
let's go.
All right. All right, personnel and policy, we continue to work our way through all of policies and we are committed. We did review a number of first reads this evening. Two of the policies, policy 209 and 210, which are related to health examinations and screenings of medications. We actually did just review those in March, but there were some PSBA updates, so they have been re-added as first reads this time. They were just some additional updates from the PSBA, just around language. Nothing that we had any thoughts or concerns about, related to that. There were a number of other first reads that were just, again, part of our normal policy review. 234, 235, 236, 239, 246, 250, and 810.4. 810.4 had gone back to be reviewed by HR. We just wanted to make sure that the business manager and HR had reviewed that, and they added in a little bit of additional language around approved volunteers. It's about transportation. So they did review that, and we also 246 is related to our health, our school wellness, and it's quite a meaty policy, and so our nurses actually did review that as well. So we did make sure that there were no changes to it. We just made sure that they reviewed it for accuracy. We do have a number of policies, 137.2, 137.3, 231, 810.1 and 810.3, which are on second read. We had no other changes to them. All the changes from previous discussions have been captured. So that is all of them. I think we are good. Thank you. Kathy Jo, was there anything else?
No, that's everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, curriculum, instruction, and technology. Would like to report out for that.
I will. So we had a very long list from Clint of technology with regard to summer work that's going to be done. He has an asset management system, which is going to help keep track of the equipment, the computers. They're migrating many of the computer programs from servers to cloud-based systems, which will allow for Clint to be able to better work with those systems. I know personally, just in my office, going from a server to cloud-based was tremendous, and not having the issues of the servers, and so he's doing that. They purchased Chromebooks, and they're shuffling and replacing those. There's going to be a new printer system through paper cuts, it's called, with key fobs, and so those are better managed. And discussed cyber attack and cybersecurity and those issues, which are always a threat that we need to be make certain we're on top of, and to try to do our best and to make certain we maintain insurance on those things. He did put some that Pennsylvania has passed a law that prohibits taxpayer funds for paying ransoms, so which was interesting to note. So if there was a ransom, there's no money that we can pay that. So so hopefully that puts it out there that people won't do cyber attacks on us. Onto the curriculum. So we discussed the PSSA consultant or monitoring came in, and we passed with flying colors. The administration team was very excited about that, making certain that all the PSSA tests they're given to those guidelines. We discussed new credits, the review of credit requirements. So for freshmen, you're going to have 6.5 credits is going to be required. Sophomores will be at 13, juniors 19.5, and seniors will be 26 non-career center, 24 career center. The students are going to need to pass the minimum credits to be placed in the next grade level. They will be able to maintain within their next cohort or their cohort of their freshman, sophomore, whatever it may be. But in order to be considered a sophomore, they're going to have to make certain they've passed those certain credit levels. Also, all underclassmen will have to carry a minimum of 7 credits, and seniors will be required to carry a minimum of 6. We talked about, because there's been issues in the past where kids have, not maintained those certain credit levels, and then they get to their senior year and then, are like, oh my goodness, how am I going to graduate? So that there'll be notifications that are going to be provided to the parents, to the students. It's already done to the students and to the parents, but it's going to be more so. Or talked about possibly having those like on maybe the Power School or report cards, alerting the students, which will be on there that, although they got their grades and they think they're in 10th grade, it may say, no, you're actually in 9th grade. So they're going to need to know that so that they can make certain they have their credits so that they can graduate on time. What else? They talked about offering as from sophomores may be permitted upon certain classes to be able to take higher classes like something with an AP or just higher offerings, certain offerings that they may be allowed. That will be dependent on if those classes have certain prerequisites or not. And as the teachers and recommend that, but that there will be certain permissions to allow that. And last was their administration team is reviewing the monitoring and reviewing courses as to the numbers that are taking those, and they are doing those because there may be certain courses that are eliminated or gone on a rotating basis so that we make certain we have classes, full class sizes for those. Okay. And last was, we talked about all the hires that we saw in our professional, which is a long list, which is great. And we have a really good group. So we're excited about that. And that's all I have.
Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, I just want to agree with Mr. Jones that the new hire list is amazing. And I sat on quite a few of those interviews, and I'm really excited for the Athens district, with these people with this new staff that are coming in. We're very fortunate, and I'm really excited to see how we can work together.
Okay. It is a very long list. Up next, we have our superintendent report, Mr. Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairznowski. I only want to report on one thing for the month of May. I think all the board reports and committee reports kind of covered all the good stuff that we've been doing and working on. This week is National Teachers Appreciation Week, and I just want to take a moment to extend a sincere thank you to all the teachers who are joining our district and have been in our district for a very long time. The job of being a teacher is always challenging and often rewarding. And sometimes the challenges outweigh the rewards, but we still have such dedicated, compassionate, and passionate educators who show up every day and give all of themselves for our students in this community. And we should be very thankful as a community and a school board and a school district that we have such wonderful staff that really are dedicated to our students. So I want to provide a sincere thank you to them. And a week is not enough, but we'll do what we can. So thank you to all of our teachers.
I think we'll echo that as well. We have some great teachers and we appreciate them. Blast IU, we do not have representative. Any news on that, Mr. Stager? From that?
Anybody?
I know you go to those
anybody?
meetings.
No, there's no new news.
Okay.
Those meetings are very different.
Understood. NTCC, Mr. Owen.
Yeah, just a couple items of note this week. Last week at the Career Center was Employers Week, which is when many local employers come and sort of set up like, almost think of like career fair type activity where the students at the center can network and meet with local employees with the hopes of finding job opportunities. I don't know, I haven't heard an update on how that went. We'll get an update in the meeting next week and we'll share that out with the board next month. Also of note, the 2023 Senior Awards Day for their Career Center is scheduled for May 25th. Two groups, 9:30 in the morning for the morning classes, 1 o'clock in the afternoon for the afternoon classes, taking place at the Twanda Auditorium. This is the event where our seniors across the Career Center will receive their various recognitions, graduation pins, certificates, their certification portfolios, and so on. And also they'll be recognized for those who have been inducted to the National Technical Honor Society as well. So again, that's May 25th at the Twanda Auditorium. So yeah, we're in the morning. Yeah, Athens is the morning cohort. So I believe open to the public. Anyone who would like to go attend, we are the morning. So it'd be 9:30 that day.
Open to the public.
Yep. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones, PSBA. All right. Mr. Barrett, Solicitor Report.
Mr. President, I have, on the board, I have one item we have to act on, or I'm recommending we act on tonight. I was asked by the administration to broker a student discipline settlement with a family and a student, which I have written up. It's 2 pages and I will paraphrase it. Basically, the student violated 2 policies of the Athens School District. This student has been identified as student 222315 for purposes of confidentiality. Violated the harassment and terroristic threats policy of the district back on April 20th. He was suspended by the high school principal for a period of 10 days, and the principal recommended a hearing before the school board.
I'm not sure.
Thank you. Is this on?
Oh,
The do I have to repeat anything or start over? Okay, all right, thank you. Anyway, the under the statute, if his parents are not able to provide education for their student within 30 days, the district has to pick it up. And everyone realized that if we waited 30 days in this particular case, the student would miss the rest of the school year. So the parents, the student, and the administration agreed that the student would agree to a expulsion, which it is, for the remainder of the school year. And basically, he would not be allowed on school property, but that the school would provide district homebound instruction for him. This was approved by the administration and it was approved by the parents and the student. And I would recommend that the board adopt an adjudication this evening that the student 222315 be suspended from the Athens area school district for the remainder of the school year and be allowed to attend or be allowed to enroll in homebound instruction pursuant to this agreement, which is adopted by the board.
Okay, do I have a motion and a second?
so moved.
Second. Any discussion on this? If not, Nancy?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
and Mrs. Smart.
Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Barrett?
In addition, I want to update you on the Thomas property in Smithfield. I received a sign off from the bank and the eminent domain proceeding. If you haven't had a chance to look at the prop. Well, sure. Been at several background checks on possible employees and a few right to know requests, which I will be providing to the administration probably by the end of the week. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We are up to visitor comments for board action items only. Please give your name, the township or borough you represent, the organization which you represent, and the subject matter. Is requested that comments be kept to 3 minutes. Comments relative to private student or employee matters should be directed to the superintendent outside of the meeting. Do I have any visitor comments on board action items only? Okay. Up next, we have the proposed preliminary budget that Ms. Shores presented to us. Do I have a motion and a second to bring this to the table?
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion on the budget?
Not on the, but I just want to make a note. I looked over some of the bills, just so we know for this month of April, was this? May.
I think that's next, though.
Yeah, $739,541.66. Charter school. That was the bill for that month. So just want to put that out there. So when you see our tax increase or our budget coming up, the charter schools need to be addressed. I'm not sure who, where, when, how, but that's where the money's going. Just putting that out there.
Thank you, Kathy. Absolutely. Any more discussion on the budget? Okay, Nancy.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair
Yes. Okay, up next, we have to elect our treasurer. We have a current treasurer of Mrs. Smart. We need a motion and a second. If anybody would like to nominate someone, or if Ms. Smart would like to continue that.
Motion to elect Mrs. Smart. Mrs. Smart. Looks like she said sure, so
I saw, definitely saw sure. Go ahead.
Second that.
That's Chris. Hey, Nancy, when you're ready.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Can I vote on this? Yes. Yeah, okay, yes.
Mr. Chair
Yes.
and Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Okay, up next, we have to appoint a district solicitor. This is for a 1-year term. Do we have a motion and a second?
You said 1 year?
It is a term of 1 year. Yes.
I'll make the motion to appoint our current solicitor, Patrick Barrett.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Nancy.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Chair
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
and Mr. Frisbee.
Yes.
You're welcome. Thank you. Up next, we have financial business. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
This is a listing of all our bills, general fund checks, cafeteria bills, earned income tax, secretary and treasurer report, activity reports for Harlan Row, student accounts. To authorize the secretary, treasurer, or president to sign general fund checks and the treasurer with superintendent as alternate on all Athens area school district payroll accounts. and to redesignate the Citizens of Northern Bank as our bank depository for Athens schools, general fund, and all the other accounts that I have listed. I'm not going through all those, and the schools, and the renewal of our secretary and treasurer bonds for $150,000. Any discussion on these items? Okay, Nancy.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Charles
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
and Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Okay. Up next, we have personnel items. Do I have a motion and a second to bring this to the table?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, this is a lengthy list, as we said. We do have, I'm not gonna hit all of these, but we do have some resignation. We have a support staff resignation, some support staff termination, professional contracts. We have support contracts. We have ESSER grant-funded summer academic programs that goes all the way from Athens High School, Harlan Row, Lynch, SRU, and Athens Area School District summer custodians, summer counselors, paraprofessionals, and summer teachers. We also have our athletic contracts for football, soccer, volleyball, cross-country, golf, football, cheerleading, basketball, girls' basketball, boys' basketball, swimming, wrestling, cheerleading, and bocce ball. Sorry, the print is very small. Do I have any discussion on these personnel matters?
How many hours for the summer school? How many hours a day? How many days?
Sorry. So it depends. So our Achieve Academy, which is our elementary summer school, goes for 3 weeks. That is approximately 12 days because it's 4 days per week, Monday through Thursday. And the teachers are responsible for being there for 4, and I think we just added another half an hour. So it'll be 4.5 hours per day. The middle school and high school summer school is actually 4 weeks long, and their requirement is still the same amount of hours per day. You're welcome.
I did miss volleyball. Volleyball's on here as well. I'm sorry.
I have 2 sons on the summer rec. I mean, I don't know if you want to, they're summer rec. I don't know if you want to move them off. Do we need to,
See if I'm
or,
saying it.
or keep them on and vote? I mean, I don't want to abstain from the whole thing.
Want to separate them out?
Yeah, they're number 58 and 59, Peter Jones and Brendan Jones as counselors.
So we'll vote on them second.
Okay.
Vote on the rest first, okay?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the vote on all of them except for the ones that Mr. Jones just took out for the second vote. Okay, Nancy, when you're ready for the first.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Charles
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
and Mrs. Minnick.
Yes.
Okay, I will vote on the 2 that were taken out for the summer rec counselors. When you're ready, Nancy.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Charles
Yeah.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Abstain.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
and Mr. Owen.
Yes.
Just so you know, I don't get any monetary benefit from them
None.
working, you know, there's a.
Okay, Mr. Sage.
Zero.
Works the other way.
Stage, I think we have guests here that we just approved.
Absolutely. And to the board, I would like to welcome some of our new hires that are in attendance tonight. We have Alan Burgess. Alan, if you could just stand up so we can see you. Stay standing. Okay, just stay standing for a second, would you?
Yes.
Elizabeth Weston. Elizabeth, there she is. Rihanna Powers. Carly Vaughn. Jamie Stevens. And Elise Ellsbury. I think that I didn't miss anybody, did I? Welcome to the Wildcat family. We appreciate you and we'd love to give you a round of applause. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming. Okay, up next, we do have contracts and agreements. Do I have a motion and a second?
Make a motion.
Second.
This is our PDE sponsor to sponsor agreement with Bradford County Tioga Head Start for the upcoming school year. Athens Area School District MOU with Bradford County, Tioga County Head Start, and Nutrition Group 1-year extension request for next year as well. Any discussion on these? Okay, Nancy.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen.
Yes.
Thank you. We have up next policies. Do I have a motion and a second for policies?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mrs. Smart went through all of these very eloquently earlier, so we're not going to repeat that unless there's any questions. Are there any questions or discussion? Okay.
Well,
Nancy. Oh, yeah.
yeah, no, I don't want to go back to scooters, but huh?
It's not one of
It's
these.
not one of these ones.
No, it's not.
No.
All right.
Almost got through the skate.
All right, it's still tabled.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was said second read, so
Yeah, that one.
It's in there.
It's in there, every like E, right?
yeah.
Oh, well, I
Policy number 223.
I recommend it stay tabled until we can get
Yeah.
some definitive answers from. our
I thought
local
you said
law
tabled.
enforcement and Maybe change the language a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we just put the language to say not on school property, I mean, isn't that
It's not in-
like, wouldn't that take care of that?
Yeah, not on school property. And
Yeah.
then also I recommend that administration set protocols for proper storage of the for safety.
Sure.
Okay, so we're gonna table. All right. Go ahead, Nancy.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
and Mr. Rude.
Yes.
Folks, you got ahead of me. I was trying to keep up with you guys tonight, but Katie Galinsky and Travis Chandler from the Nutrition Group are here. You guys extended their contract for 1 more year, so we appreciate the Nutrition Group. And if you look at over the numbers, they've been doing very well for us and putting money back in our coffers rather than us having a school lunch deficit. So I appreciate them for that. Thank you.
We attended the FFA banquet last Friday evening and the nutrition group catered it and it was amazing. It was a very good dinner. You guys did a good job. The FFA banquet. And they catered it. The meal was delicious. Very good.
Okay, up next, we have curriculum instruction. We have a motion and second for this.
So moved.
Second.
So this is the special education phase 2 plan. You want to go into that a little bit, Mr. Stage?
In my extensive capabilities of special education, I'll go into it. If I need any help, Mr. Cummings is here tonight. And he's shaking his head because he doesn't like to do that. So just like the normal comprehensive plan, periodically, we are required to revise or review our special education plan. This is the phase 2 part of that. Mr. Cummings completed that. It is an online document, so it's really hard to print out. I know online it was attached. You guys could see parts of it. The only thing that you need to know is that nothing really changes in our plan. There are no significant changes. We still plan to treat students of all abilities the same, and we still have the same approach to learning disabilities that we've always had, and students with all types of opportunities to learn. So that's the best I can summarize it without going into laborious detail. Do you guys want him to give you more?
It's up to you guys.
Natalie's nodding yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings.
This is when paraphrasing doesn't cover it. You knew that was happening, right?
Yeah, you like, it? You want to move it up? Okay, anyway, so the phase two plan, we do it like, so every 3 years, you go phase one, phase two, phase three. Phase two is where you write the plan out. So there's an extensive plan that shows every special education classroom in the district per square foot, students assigned to the classroom, whether it's itinerant, supplemental, then assigned to the teacher. So that's broken down throughout the whole plan. One of the things I said is, I put this on, what month are we in? May? So I put this on in April, assuming that the plan would be done, approved. There's just one more step before Mr. Ishman approves it. Then at that time, I can print it out and provide it to you. The draft version has been available for over the last month. But unfortunately, I don't want to give you the unapproved version, to approve here before the board. So if it's something you want to bring up in June, I would say just table any action that you're taking against, which I don't know if you need to take action. I mean, Mr. Stage's realm. But the other things that it shows are the trainings that Athens Area School District will be doing in regards to intervention, behavior, autism, across the board, a number of other trainings that we have that'll be for the support staff and the professional staff, along with QBS that we practice in the district, which is our de-escalation and restraint management system. Again, we don't want to practice restraints, so that's at a last cost. It also has in there our population of students broken down by disability category. And one of the things I highlighted in it is that we were progressing downward with our special education numbers and again, most of you have already heard this once. We were 1 year away from hitting the state average for the first time in over 20 years. And unfortunately, after COVID, we shot up. So we're about 1.5% roughly off of the state average. So we are not showing any disparities with disproportionality related to race, disability, anything associated with that. So what we look at is, are we disciplining one population of students over another? Like I said, the special education population getting targeted when it comes to discipline, things of that nature. These are all things that are in the plan. So when we have the ability of sending it to you, we'll get it right out to you. Now I'm hoping it actually gets final approval tomorrow morning.
So it's up to no, thank you, Mr. Cummings. It's up to the board. Would you like to table that till next month, or would you like to proceed and vote on it now? Up to you guys. Would you like to see the plan before you vote on it?
Yeah, I think we wait until.
Okay.
we see the plan, then
Yep,
we'll-
so we will table that to the June meeting then, please.
No cards in sight. Good job.
You'll have to do that again in June. Thank you.
Should have recorded it.
There is transportation this month. Building and grounds, there's nothing, and other, there is nothing at this time. Visitor comments, please give your name, the township or borough you represent, the organization which you represent, and the subject matter. It's requested that comments be kept to 3 minutes. Comments relative to private student or employee matters should be directed to the superintendent outside of the meeting. Are there any visitor comments? Okay. We have board community. Oh, we have one. I'm sorry. Oh, did as soon as I put my head down? Okay. I don't know why I missed it.
My name is Deb Huber, y'all know where I live. Sorry.
I got it there, Nancy.
How's that?
Good.
My concern is the one that you've raised, and we've raised several times about the charter schools. I got word in December, when I went to one of the meetings, I met a guy, he's, school board member in Shinny. His name is Ed Bunn, and he's done extensive research on this, and, we are all being ripped off extensively. We need to do something about it. We're talking, give or take $800,000 a month and you want to raise our 1.5 mils. And when's the last time we had a 1.5 mil tax increase?
prior to 2014.
So one of the things that he offered up was the research that he has. And I know I have 3 minutes. Let me just let you know what he said. He's done extensive research on the incentivized corruption in PA around charter schools, especially the Commonwealth Charter Academy, which is based on cyber school. Ed says he has documentation of this research, so I can get that anytime we want it. Since cyber charter schools are able to collect a high allowance per student comparable to brick and mortar schools and have only a fraction of the overhead, charter schools, specifically cyber schools, are a virtual gold mine. Because of the lucrative nature of the cyber school, there have been strong efforts to expand it. And the movement fund recruiters to persuade families to participate and funds mentors to support and keep them enrolled. This is the letter that I got from the group. I sent it to you. At the epicenter of this apparently legal but highly questionable financial scheme is a man named Jeffrey Yass, Y-A-S-S. He has been able to launder funds through PA's charter schools via the Commonwealth of PA Children's Fund and become a huge political donor. Apparently, there is not a politician in Harrisburg that doesn't know who Jeffrey Yass is. I didn't know who he was, and I've been in Harrisburg several times. While he's known mostly to have funded conservative and Republican causes, the influence and control he may yield behind the scenes can only be imagined. Many of us wonder why PA legislature that was held by Republicans in both Senate and House was able to do absolutely nothing to reform our broken election system. Now their concern is, where is this money going to? So that is the information I have. If you need more, I can get it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Deb.
And Deb, in response to that, we did vote as a board to ask the state for legislation to regulate the charter school funding, as well as many other school boards in Pennsylvania. I have also contacted our local representative and our local senator, and I also met with our Senate,
Deb, that
our
particular-
representative in DC, sorry.
That particular Commonwealth Charter Academy, we paid out over 98,000.
I
Sure is.
forgot to bring it. I had it copied in my office. There was an article in the Williamsport paper within the last week that what has just been stated, it has been stated as a Republican Democratic issue, but our new governor appears to be pushing this very heavily. He's behind school choice, whether he's behind school charters or not, we're not sure, but he is behind school choice.
So is he behind the current status or us?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We have some board communications. We have field trip requests. We have the enrollment by month for the school year, and we have the total enrollment for May for the whole school district. There are no board discussion items at this time. Our next meeting is June 20th, Tuesday, June 20th, here again at 7 PM. It is a regular session. We will have an executive session for personnel and legal matters. And if there's a motion to adjourn, we will adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you guys all for coming. Have a good night.